Welcome to hOLA, a podcast of the Catholic community of Our Lady of Angels in Allen, Texas. Our hope is to reach out and stay in touch with our community in ways that are informative, community building, and fun. We start out each episode with a little bit of hOLA news, then interview a guest, and close with a look at our spiritual journeys and a challenge or prayer for the community. This is our third episode, and I am Jennifer Hardy with co-host Rosemary Crocker.
Right, Jennifer. So we just finished up spring break, right? And I don't know about you, but did you guys have a good spring break?
We did. It was perfect weather for a change, so that was awesome. We went to Memphis because my daughter, this is her first year in college, and so she's at Rhodes in Memphis. Actually, the first semester because they didn't have class at all in person last semester. So it's been a little while, the longest time that we had not seen her. So we just had to go there, but it was great. We went to the zoo and all the outside stuff to try to be safe, and the weather just was perfect. So it was very nice. How about you, Rosemary?
We stayed around here, did a few things. My daughter and I, got our nails done, and she got her hair done, and a facial, and I splurged and had a little massage. So it was a good week. The weather at the beginning of the week was great, and towards the end of the week it was a little cooler. So always a surprise with those kind of things. But it was definitely good to relax a little bit. And it's amazing how fast the time goes by. And here we are now in March Madness. I don't know if we have any basketball fans listening, but I know we watched as a family Loyola win the other day, and Jennifer, they have this chaplain who's a nun, and she's, I think, like 100 years old, and so I think that probably just adds to the whole excitement of a Catholic team, winning, giving an upset to the other team. So it was great fun.
Yeah, I gotta love that.
Yes, absolutely. So the Holy Spirit is present with that team, but anyways, now, March Madness, and we're going to be, of course, heading into Easter, greatness, joy. But do you know what else is coming up, Jennifer?
I do not.
Well, we're thinking about the month of April.
Oh.
And so April Fools is coming up. Are you ready for that?
No, I think we could just go ahead here now and cancel that, probably.
Yeah. I think we've had enough of that. I think that whole weather thing, the whole snow blizzard and all of that, I would say that should cancel as our April Fools as well.
Definitely. All right. Well, I guess now we will head into community news. Do you want to take that?
Yes. All right. Today is March 27th, and tonight we will be having the Palm Sunday Vigil Mass. And after the Mass tonight, if you would like to hang around and go to the parking lot area, in front of the EFB, we will have adoration set up after Father Bell finishes Mass. We're going to have the high school youth leading us in some different music and reflections during adoration. And so we just really want to invite everyone to come out and enter into Holy Week with Jesus. So hope you can join us. The next thing I want to talk about during Holy Week is the last opportunity for reconciliation before Easter. That's going to be on March 31st at 7 p.m. So if you haven't had a chance to experience reconciliation during Lent, please try to make the effort to make that evening. The next piece of news is about a Little Rock scripture study that will begin on April 8th at 7 p.m., and that's offered on Zoom. This study is called Angels in the Bible. And so if you would like to sign up for that, look for the link in the newsletter or on the website. On April 10th, our next bit of news is that the St. Vincent de Paul truck will be in the parking lot from 8 a.m. until noon. Again, that's on April 10th. So if you're doing some spring cleaning and you are wanting to get rid of some things and feel like donating to a worthy cause, please bring those to the church parking lot on April 10th. The last bit of news that we want to highlight is one of our ministries here. We're very fortunate to have Stephen ministers who have been called by God to be present to the people of hOLA. Stephen ministers can pray with you and walk with you. They have been equipped with extensive training and commissioned by Our Lady of Angels to offer care. This is a confidential free service, and it's provided as part of the pastoral care for the community of Our Lady of Angels. We all can have different points in our life where we experience twists and turns. Maybe we're feeling really low, feeling alone. And it doesn't have to be big hurdles in life that you're going through, but anything that you need somebody to talk with and give you the face of Jesus during difficult times. Please make an effort to reach out to a Stephen minister if you feel in need. We have, I think, 5 new Stephen ministers that are being commissioned this past week. So we have people ready and willing to listen to you and walk with you. So that is all of the news for now.
Thanks,
and
Rosemary. Yeah,
Jennifer is
got a lot going on, right?
yes.
Yeah.
We can think right now that there's not a lot going on, but there always is. So lots of opportunity.
And we're going into this holiest week of the year. There's a lot to reflect on and a lot of ways still to make sure that we're involved and connected. And I especially love your highlight because this is a ministry that not everyone has. So we definitely don't want to take that for granted.
Yes, very fortunate to have Stephen ministers.
All right, so now super excited because this episode is a first for us on our podcast. We are going to interview someone from outside of Our Lady of Angels community. We are welcoming Miss Meg Olson from Network Lobby for Catholic Social Justice. This does tie into what some of us at hOLA are doing. You may have heard me mention the Just Engagement program in the past. As part of this program, we are asked to bring in a speaker who can share their experience in advocacy. Someone from Network will be addressing the group after Easter, and we thought it would be nice to share a little bit of this experience with our whole community. So Miss Olson also has prior experience working at Catholic Charities in St. Louis, and I think you will definitely enjoy this upcoming interview. We're super excited to introduce our guest today, Miss Meg Olson. Hey Meg, how are you doing today?
Hi Jen, I'm really good, thanks.
Great. So you work at an organization called Network Lobby for Catholic Social Justice. So we wanted to ask you just a little bit, if you can tell just a little bit about the organization.
Yeah, sure. So I'm talking to you from Washington D.C, where Network was founded almost 50 years ago by 47 Catholic sisters who really were looking, after Vatican II, we're looking at their charism and really looking at their foundresses and realizing that and responding to the call to respond to the signs of the times, realized that they wanted to engage in political action. That, as we know with the 2 feet of love and action, charity is needed, but so is justice. And so they founded Network, and it was a noun, like a network of sisters across the country, and but also a verb, like they were going to be networking with other organizations, both interfaith and secular, and also, most importantly, with people who were closest to the issues at hand, experiencing directly the impact of poverty. So really that culture of encounter was built in right away with understanding like the lived realities of policy in this country. So fast forward almost 50 years, and we have 100,000 members and supporters across the country. Sisters are still an important constituency, but we have lots of lay people, lots of non-Catholics, and we have people in almost every congressional district. And so we are an advocacy organization, and we educate, organize, and lobby for social, economic, and racial justice. We have a brand new public policy agenda that we kicked off in 2020 called Build Anew, a Justice Agenda for All of Us. And we focus on economic security, including wages and family-friendly workplace policies, access to affordable quality healthcare, housing, and food, tax justice, access to democracy, and immigration and other justice systems like our criminal justice system. So it's a pretty holistic domestic policy agenda.
Wow, yeah, that's so interesting. I didn't realize that Network had been around for 50 years, actually.
Yeah, next year will be our 72 will be our 50th anniversary. So, or 2022, sorry. Will be our 50th anniversary.
I was a little lost with the numbers.
Yeah, I'm like, we were founded in, yeah.
Wow, that's great. So Meg, I have your next question.
Okay.
This isn't the first time you've worked in advocacy, correct? And
right.
What drew you to this type of work, and what was it like working in this field in the diocesan framework?
Yeah, great. So, so I've been at Network for about 5.5 years. I am the director of our grassroots mobilization program, which really equips all of our members and supporters to build relationships with their members of Congress. Previous to this job, so this of course is across the whole country, every congressional district, and previous to this position, I was working in the Archdiocese of St. Louis and doing very similar work, but on a much smaller scale, right? I was focusing within the Archdiocesan territory, a couple of, some counties in the eastern half of Missouri, and really focusing on state level, our state legislature in Missouri, and focusing, because I was doing it from out of Catholic Charities, really focusing though again on a domestic agenda, on a very local agenda, on policies that were impacting the people that Catholic Charities was serving, about 500,000 people in the Archdiocesan territory. So Medicaid expansion, immigrant and refugee issues, SNAP, TANF, all of the issues that impact people experiencing poverty or mental health or, returning citizens, criminal justice issues. And so instead of, states or congressional districts, I had parishes that I was building little advocates teams. Now at Network, we have a national organizing model that has grassroots teams in various cities. And Texas is definitely one of our building states, and Catherine is working hard there. So,
wow.
But so similar work, just on a very different scale. I think
that's great. So that the Holy Spirit has inspired you to grow and spread out, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the nice thing was, I've been aware of Network for a very long time, before I started working at Network. And I think too, especially like in those moments, during my time at Catholic Charities, when we did jump up to federal issues, like whether it was the Farm Bill and like hunger policy, like food programs that are funded by the Farm Bill, like SNAP, or the 2013 like major push for comprehensive immigration reform, I was accessing, as a diocesan staff person, I was accessing resources, of course, from the USCCB and Catholic Charities, but then also Network. Like Network was having weekly policy calls around Medicaid expansion that I was jumping onto and reporting what was happening in Missouri. So I had those relationships already.
Nice. That's great.
Yeah, that is, and thank you for all these descriptions of things. It's very interesting, and I know you've kind of gone a little bit into what you guys are doing, but is there any issues that you're currently working on that might speak to us or speak to you that you'd like to just give us a little more information?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's Congress is certainly keeping us busy these days in a really exciting way, right? Um, we're seeing quite a few of policy issues that really intersect with Catholic social teaching, whether it's around justice for immigrants or whether it's around caring for the marginalized, living out our preferential option for the poor. So I would say, though, our two major issues right now are definitely focusing on access to democracy, which, of course, when we think about Catholic social teaching, this is the call to participation and the responsibility to participate in our political systems. And so we're really excited about the For the People Act. It passed the House. We are trying to get it passed in the Senate. And this would just really, I think we're all aware of all of the voting restrictions that are happening in state legislatures. And this is really concerning, especially on the impact of people of color and people living in poverty, and really excluding them from our political system. So, there's so many things the For the People Act would do to make sure that our democracy is more participatory. The other issue that we're working on is is immigration. And so again, in the House, we've passed the Dream and Promise Act, which is incredible, providing a pathway to citizenship for Dreamers, our DACA recipients, our young adults who've been here for their whole lifetime, and then also our TPS recipients, like people who are here on kind of a temporary protected status from like places like Liberia and other countries where there's political unrest. And then we've also in the House passed the Farm Workforce Modernization Act, which would provide just much needed protections and like transformation of our system for our farm workers in this country who are coming from Mexico and Central America. So again, in the Senate, we are working on that. We know that there's a bipartisan DREAM Act. Senator Durbin and Senator Graham are focusing on that, sponsoring that bill. And the farm workforce piece is also very bipartisan. I mean, it's about food security, but it's also about recognizing the dignity of those who are feeding us in this country. So those are the two major issues that we're working on. We also anticipate some really exciting reform around our criminal justice system, particularly with policing. So,
wow, yeah. Some interesting issues that you guys are working on. That's a lot of hard work, and greatly appreciated. I'm sure Jennifer has shared with you that we currently have a group at Our Lady of Angels going through Just Faith's Just Engagement program.
Yeah.
Would you have any advice for us on getting started in advocacy?
Wow. Yes. I think first of all, knowing that as Sister Simone Campbell, our outgoing executive director, always says, it all requires us to do our part. We don't have to do everything. So I think, first of all, determining what issue or maybe one or two issues do you want to focus on? Do you want to get to understand? And really go out there and collect and share the story of how these issues, right? Like if you want to focus on hunger, focus on what is happening in the Dallas region with hunger. Lawmakers, especially in DC, they want to hear stories about impact in their districts or if they're senators in their state. And they rarely get that human story. And I think particularly as Catholics and people rooted in that culture of encounter, that is our value add, right? It's the moral imperative, and it's also like providing that human face to failed policy.
Yeah, it just makes you instantly think of Mother Teresa, the face of Jesus in those people.
Yeah, absolutely. So visit your food banks, get to understand, I'm sure folks that are also involved in like whether it's a food pantry at your parish or something like that, like be able to collect those stories and build up that narrative. And then it's really easy these days to talk to your legislators, whether it's this. I mean, I don't know how the Texas system works with your state legislature, but especially on like everything is virtual right now in terms of lobby visits. And so, I mean, you can sit in your living room and talk to your member of Congress's office. And it's pretty
amazing.
Easy to, yeah, it is. So it's definitely a different climate right now than having to like all figure out where to park when you're downtown at the big office and stuff. So yeah, I think doing that research, but really with that human dimension to it, and then network is always here. We can certainly help people. Like we have lobby visit planning sheets, and like can definitely give you some pointers. So
thank you. That's great advice. I love that, especially bringing up everybody's story. That's so important. So we're going to try to shift gears just a little bit. So on our last few podcasts, Rosemary and I have been reflecting on our Lenten journeys. I know. Would you like to share anything about how Lent is going for you?
Sure. Well, I have to say I approached Lent with kind of some of the intrepidation that I think we all did. With like, we've given up so much this past year. And, I was reading like Marie Dennis's reflection, I think in the National Catholic Reporter about this. And yet, of course, I mean, this is still a time for spiritual growth. And actually, so every year Network provides a guide, a Lenten guide that's both like spiritual and also has like action steps every week, usually calling your member of Congress or something. And so I think in just gathering like the prayers and reflections for this, and it's like really introducing our build a new agenda. And when we think about networks, our new public policy agenda is rooted in what we're calling these 4 cornerstones to build our country anew. And it's dismantling systemic racism, cultivating inclusive community, rooting our economy in solidarity, and transforming our politics. And so I guess for me, like, those are really the touchstones of my Lenten journey, is really like thinking about these cornerstones, thinking about this time, like preparing myself for the resurrection and knowing that is also building anew, right? There's this spiritual building that is happening that mimics like what needs to happen in our country to literally like these cornerstones are helping us build the kingdom of God. So yeah, I think in just like helping shape our Lenten guide, I've been really able to root myself in a practice that feels appropriate for the times.
Yeah, that's great. It's interesting to hear the different perspectives and journey and how everybody kind of approaches it a little bit differently. Don't you think, Rosemary?
Yeah, I think so too. I was just thinking that it sounds like, Meg, maybe this, is something that will be more rooted and carry on. And I think for myself with my Lenten journey, that what I've been focusing on for some reason just feels like it's really solidified right now. And it won't be something that I just stop doing after Lent this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know what the shift in the thinking is with that, that's come with everything we've been thinking about. But I guess that is one of those hidden graces in the experience. So.
Yeah, maybe it's even something we got out of COVID, right?
Yeah,
We're
that turning inward.
Yes.
Yes.
We've had
Yes.
to.
Yes, definitely. Well, that's kind of all we've got for you today. We are definitely going to put the link for Network along with our posting for the podcast. Is there anything else that you would like us to share?
I can definitely share with you all the Lenten guide, the link to the Lenten guide that
Yeah, that would be great.
that I just talked about. Yeah, right now we have 6 chapters for the, so we have two weeks to go. But in terms of Holy Week and then Easter week.
Okay, great. And as we talked about, it can continue and grow, so people can backtrack and
yeah, definitely.
and catch up on it. So that would be awesome. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This is a great conversation, and I hope that I'm sure that our community will get so much out of it, and it'll be we're so glad that you're able to join us today.
Yes, thank you so much, Meg.
Thanks for inviting me. It was a pleasure, and I'm excited about your podcast project and just the work that you're doing with Just Faith. So.
So last time we shared with you how our Lenten journeys have been going so far, and checking in on one another is actually part of our journey. So Rosemary, how's it going?
I'm really settling into this journey of Lent, and one of the things I was working on is making myself really aware of God's intentional love for me each and every day. And so that has been really amazing. It has brought me, I think, a sense of peace and also just a new way of loving other people. It's amazing that when we know of that love, that we can give that more freely to other people. So I'm really enjoying that. And now I'm going to check in on you, Jennifer. How has your journey been?
In general, it's going pretty well. I've been mostly keeping up with my daily reflections, like I mentioned last time, that I get in emails. Skipped a few here and there, but those have been good, eye-opening in some cases, and helpful. And I always loved doing Stations of the Cross, so I've had several different types of activities, branching out a little bit this year with that. So we did go in person. I've done one over the phone with my daughter in college. And then we've done, we had an event with Faith Formation, and that was so great to get to see and hear the little kids reading the stations and be part of that with other families. So that's great. As far as the spiritual direction, I feel actually very similar to what you mentioned, Rosemary. It's been a lot of emphasis on looking at God's love for me, and I also have that feeling of being able to be more open and accepting and loving of others through that. But I will admit to a bit of a slack off over spring break.
Uh-oh.
Yes, I know. It's always in Lent, but it's just I think it was a little bit harder this year, and I didn't even realize that. I think it was a little bit subconscious with the whole pandemic thing, because in the past, if we've gone somewhere, we've always looked for opportunities where we are to attend stations or something like that, and we actually didn't even do that because we just assumed, with restrictions and all that, it would be quite difficult to find anything. But it wasn't even like I even made that decision. It was almost just a subconscious block.
Wow. Yeah, it is a little bit of more challenge. And yeah, but you know what? As you were saying that, I was like, there's always the redemption, though. That's the great thing. So.
Yep. We're back now, so
yes,
back into it.
Absolutely. So we're going to head into the challenge part. Before we do that, you actually kind of sparked a thought of a challenge for myself. I haven't really been good about Stations of the Cross this Lent, so you've actually inspired a little challenge for myself to actually really focus on stations during these next 2 weeks here. So thank you for that.
Yes, and you have a great opportunity with Holy Week coming up to always make sure I love doing that on Good Friday. So
Yes, absolutely. And you want to tell us about the other challenges for us?
Sure, yes. So our challenge to you this next week in particular is to participate either in person, virtually, or on your own in a Holy Week celebration, preferably something new or different for you or your family. So trying out something new. There are many opportunities, starting with confession this Wednesday, and then the Triduum liturgy starting on Thursday. We do know that a lot of the masses are full, like we mentioned, but you do have some alternative ways to participate. The Pastoral Center has a wonderful Holy Week at Home resource for families with prayer services, activities, and videos for Palm Sunday and the Triduum. And we're going to include that link with our podcast posting. And we are also going to include the link for Formed, because that is a great resource for the adults out there. You can find videos on Holy Week there. And also below our podcast, we will have the link for the network organization that our guest Meg spoke about and works at. So if you'd like to look more into that. And then once again, just email us with anything, with news. If you would like to be a guest or have an idea, please let us know.
Yes, absolutely. And anything else, Jennifer, you want to add?
I think that's it.
All right, awesome. Well, we want to say thank you to all of you for joining us for our third episode. We had a great time visiting with our guest and bringing news and a little bit of humor to you, maybe. So until next time, adios, hola.